Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Elfelt and I'm the developer of GISsurfer. In general, each video in this series assumes you are familiar with the material covered in the earlier videos. This video will demonstrate the common parameters that can be included in a GISsurfer map link. The screen now shows the default map. Notice in the browser bar that there are no parameters after the map link. The parameters that are used to display the default map are included in the GISsurfer code. So let's take a look at those parameters by clicking Menu, Link to this map, copy the link, and I'm going to paste that link into my editor right there. Paste. Notice the question mark. Everything before the question mark is the address where the GISsurfer code is hosted on my server. Everything after the question mark is parameters. So let's break those parameters out and take a look at them. So we'll do that, we'll do this, and we'll do another return right there. So each parameter, except the first one, has four parts. There's an ampersand character, there's the name of the parameter, there's an equal sign, and there's a value for the parameter. The first parameter does not need the ampersand sign. So let's put this map link back together. By doing that, copy the map link with the parameters, go to my browser, open a new tab, paste the map link in there, open the map. Here is the map displayed with parameters in the map link. Go back to the other tab, close the message, and here's the exact same map displayed without parameters in the map link. These two maps are the same because the map that has the parameters with it is using the parameters that are hard-coded into GISsurfer in order to display the default map. I'm going to close that extra browser tab, go back here, and I'm going to zoom in on the Seattle waterfront here. Zoom in a bunch. And I'm going to also change to an aerial base map. Do that. Maybe zoom in a little bit more. And now let's take a look at how the parameters have changed by doing Menu, Link to this map, copy the link, back to my editor. I'm going to paste the map link there, paste. Notice that we have the same three parameters in both map links, map center, a zoom, and a base map, but the values of those three parameters have changed. I am now going to talk about the overlay parameter, and to do that I'm going to use a version of the weather map that you saw in the prior video. To start with, I'm going to get the link that will replicate the map, copy that, and paste that into my editor right there. And now I'm going to copy the overlay parameter and break that out so we can look at it. Copy and put that right there. The overlay parameter specifies the names of GIS overlay layers that will be on when the map opens. In this case, there are three overlay layers that will be on when the map opens. The overlay parameter also specifies the order with which the layers are turned on, and that's the order that you see, with the state boundary layer being turned on first, the weather watch and warning layer turned on second, and the weather station layer being turned on last. The layer that is turned on last has special importance. Here's why. Layers are stacked on top of each other in the order that they are turned on. The last layer that is turned on is on top of the stack. It is only the top layer that can be clicked on the map to see the attribute data for that layer. So this concept of top layer is one of the key concepts in GISsurfer. Notice in the overlay parameter there is an underline character that is used instead of a space. In fact, in the entire GISsurfer map link, there are no spaces. Also, another thing to know about the overlay parameter is that the overlay names that are used must match exactly the overlay names that the map knows about, either because they are hard-coded in the map or the additional overlays have been specified with the data parameter. I mentioned that the overlay parameter determines the order with which layers are turned on. Let's see what happens if we edit the map link by cutting that layer out and moving the weather watch and warning layer to the end of the overlay parameter. Now I'll copy this link, paste that into a new browser bar. While I'm here, I'm going to close that message. Okay, paste the link I copied into a browser bar like so. The first thing you see is that the overall appearance of the map with the different order with which layers are turned on is very different. The map we're looking at now has the weather watch and warning layer turned on last and on top of the stack. The earlier map has the weather station layer on top. If we click the base map button to look at the list of overlays and look for the overlays with a number in front, on this first map we see the weather watch and warning layer is number 2. We scroll down, we see the weather station layer is number 3. That tells us the weather station layer is on top of the weather watch and warning layer. Looking at the second map, if we do the same thing, we now see that the weather watch and warning layer is number 3 since it is on top of the stack, and the weather station layer is number 2. There's another way we can see what layer is on top by simply clicking anywhere on the map at all. So if I just go out here, I click the map, I get a little message that pops up. The top layer does not have any GIS data where I clicked. I scroll down and it tells me the layer on top is the weather watch and warning layer. I have gone back to the default map now, and I'll show you some additional parameters you can use in map links. I'm going to use the menu button to turn off the crosshair by clicking right there. Do the menu button again and change the scale from feet and miles to metric, and using the menu button again to go over to where I can change the coordinate format. I'm going to scroll down in that display and turn the coordinates off. Well, now let's click menu, link to this map, copy that, copy, go to my editor and see how the parameters have changed. Let's just paste over the top of all that right there. Paste. Looking at the parameters in the map link then, format off, turn the coordinate display off. I still have a map center that will be used when the map opens up. The crosshair parameter turns the display of the crosshair off, and the scale parameter now shows meters. Now if I copy the map link here, copy, paste it into a browser tab, open up the map, I get a map that does not have a marker at the center of the map, a crosshair there. I get the scale that's in meters, and there's no display of coordinates in the lower right corner of the screen. I have restored the default map on my screen. Now let's say you wanted to make a map link that would display an aerial base map, a road overlay, and have the geolocation feature already turned on when the map opens. Here's how you can do that. I'm going to go to the base map and select the world imagery for an aerial view. And I'm going to also hit the base map button and select world transportation for a street layer. Now we'll get the link that opens that map, link to this map, copy, back to my editor again. We'll paste over the top of that, paste, and now we're going to add a parameter to the map link. So ampersand, my location equals on, and copy that map link back to the browser, open a new tab, and paste that link in right there. Have to give permission for geolocation, and the map opens and the geolocation symbol is on my screen. As I explained in an earlier video, I'm doing this on my PC, which does not have a GPS chip, so the accuracy value is really terrible, but it does work. There are some other things you can do with the myLocation_link parameter, and you can read about those in the PDF file that describes all of the link parameters. And speaking of geolocation, by the way, I should point out that GISsurfer does not sell, rent, give away, store, or share your location data with anyone. The last parameter to look at in this video is the data parameter, which lets you add various information to the map. A lot of what the data parameter can do is covered in this video. However, there's a later video in this series that shows you how to use the data parameter to add GIS base maps and overlays to the map. In addition to the videos, there is also a PDF file with full details and with plenty of examples showing how you can use the data parameter to make maps that show the data that you want to see. Now, the data parameter has a special requirement. It must be the last parameter in the map link. All of the other parameters can be in the map link in any order, but the data parameter must be last. Everything after the equal sign in the links I'm going to be showing you is part of the value for the data parameter. This first map link will display a number of markers on the map. One thing to notice are the two vertical lines that appear in the map. Think of those two vertical lines as an end-of-line indicator or a carriage return. They separate different pieces of information that the data parameter will use. Presently, the ability to display markers on the map is very basic, but there are some additional features that are planned. Let's copy this map link, open it up, and see what it looks like. Okay, it displays a bunch of markers on the map. The data parameter can also add a title to the map. The EM stuff right there will display the title in bold. The BR right there will put a line break into it. So let's copy this map link and look at this map. So we now have a map title in the upper left-hand corner of the map with the bold text and the line break. You can draw lines on the map. To do that, you have the data parameter, of course. You give the command line on, and after that command, two vertical lines again, and then a list of coordinates that will be the line that you're drawing. If you want to turn line drawing off, you give the command line drawing off, two vertical lines again, and then a list of coordinates which will be markers on the map because you have turned line drawing off. So let's copy this and see what our line looks like. And we see a line on the map, and we see markers on the map as well. The default style for the line is red and 2 pixels wide, and that's what we see. But you can change the line style. So let's look at an example of doing that. So here we have an example that has a line here, line on. That line will use the default line color and line width. And then we have the command to turn line drawing off, turn line drawing on, but this time the line on command is going to include a specification for the line color and the line width. If you've not seen this before, color is specified as red, green, and blue, and FF will display a blue line. And then after displaying that line, well, look at this. We give a line on command. Oh, there's no line off. Well, it turns out that you don't actually need to specify a line off. If you are drawing a line and you get to a line on command, a new line will start. So let's look at this map. Let's see what we have here. So the first line uses the default line style, which is red, is what we see. And then we see two blue lines. because line number 2 changed the style for the line. Let's go back and look at that. Line number 2, starting right here, changed the style for the line, and line number 3 used the same style. So what I'm showing you is that the style for drawing a line, the line color and line width, those settings are sticky until you change them again. Okay, let's look at the next example. Scroll down here. A lot of people that do outdoor recreation, you hike, climb, mountain bike, whatever it might be, have devices that record their track. And those devices can typically export the track data in the form of a GPX file. GISsurfer can display those files. So I have the data parameter here, and it points to the address of a GPX file that I'm hosting on my server. Let's open up that map. What we see is the GPX track displays with the default line style, red and 2 pixels wide. Well, you can change the style for your GPX line. So let's go back to the examples. Here's the next map where we have the data command, and before we get to the link to the GPX file, we have a line command that specifies a green line, FF, that will be 3.5 pixels wide. So let's copy this. It's the same GPX track, but this time the line is green and wider. Well, there's another thing to mention about these example maps we've been looking at. Notice that the maps do not have a map center parameter or a map zoom. When the data parameter has any kind of coordinate data, then when the map opens, the map will automatically be centered and zoomed such that all of the coordinate data appears on the screen. That's only true as long as the map link does not have a center and zoom parameter. If the map link does have a center and zoom parameter, then they will control and determine the center and zoom when the map opens. But if those parameters are not in the map link, that is, the map center and map zoom are not in the map link itself, then any coordinate data in the data parameter will be used to determine the map center and zoom level. If you have more than one GPX file that you want to display on the map, you can do that. You give the address for the first GPX file, 2 vertical lines, and then the address for the second GPX file. The data parameter can also be used to display georeferenced JPG and PNG images. The word georeferenced means you know the latitude, longitude for the 4 edges of the image. The screen is showing a georeferenced image I made with GISsurfer's screenshot mode. Overlaid on top of the image is the latitude-longitude data that specifies the 4 edges of the image. The georeferenced data allows the image to be correctly positioned on the map. When you use GISsurfer's screenshot mode, you automatically get the georeferenced data. Note that the georeferenced data is not part of the screenshot JPG or PNG image file. Instead, the georeferenced data is provided separately. Once you get familiar with screenshot mode, then in about an hour you can produce a georeferenced JPG that covers 300 plus square miles, is about 7 megabytes in size, highlights the trails, and has plenty of detail for backcountry travel. A later video in this series shows you how screenshot mode works. Videos will also be produced showing how to use these georeferenced images offline with the GeoJPG software I'm developing. Now back to the demonstration links. Here is the general syntax for showing a georeferenced JPG or PNG file with GISsurfer. There are 3 parts for it. You have to have a name, and you can make that name up. You have to have a link to where the JPG or PNG file is online, and you have to provide the georeferenced data for the 4 edges of the image. Now here's an example map link that has those values filled in. There's a name, there's the link where the JPEG file is online, and the georeferenced information. And the georeferenced data is provided starting at the bottom of the image and then going clockwise. So it's the bottom, the left edge, the top edge, and the right edge. So let's copy this link and open it up. And this is the georeferenced image that I was showing you back in this tab here. Go back to the map. Let's open up an aerial view. Look at that. Here's that one there. And we can see as we look at the edge of the map that the freeway lines up exactly right with the georeferenced image here and the aerial there. I can also go to the base map that I used when I made the georeferenced image, which is the scanned paper topographic maps. The narrow red line shows the edge of the georeferenced image, and you can see that the georeferencing is done exactly right. The image on the left matches up with the base map on the right. Going back to showing you the map link again, notice that the map link does not have a center or zoom parameter, and since the data parameter includes some coordinate information, the map will automatically be centered and zoomed, so all the coordinate information, and in this case the georeferenced image, will be on the user's screen when the map opens. Now, in addition to displaying a georeferenced JPEG, GISsurfer can also display a georeferenced PNG file. There's a special benefit for using PNG files sometimes because a PNG image can have a transparent background. And so here's a map link that I made to display a PNG image I made that does indeed have a transparent background. So let's look at that and see how that's useful. This map displays part of Ventura County, California. And I'm going to turn on the all-white base map so we just see the data in the PNG file. Can scroll in. I'm simply zooming the map. That's all I'm doing here. We don't see anything but the data in the map since there's no base map displayed. The red border defines the area that is in the georeferenced PNG file. Now I can turn on a base map, of course. Let's look at this one. And now I see the trail data, which is the colored lines. I see the aerial base map. Or I could turn on a different base map and see the same PNG overlay, which again has a transparent background. So if this kind of map is useful to you, you want to see trails on any kind of a base map, you now know that you can use the screenshot mode in GISsurfer to, as well as part of the process of making a PNG file with a transparent background that can be displayed on any base map. I have changed the screen back to the editor I use now, and there's a longer map link up at the top here that includes several things that I have demonstrated. Now, below the long link, I have taken the different parts of the data parameter and separated them out. And notice that the data parameter is the only parameter in the map link. So you know that everything after the data parameter is part of the value that's being passed to the data parameter because the data parameter has to be the last parameter in the link. So I've taken all the information for the data parameter, broken it out so we can look at it. There is a map title, and at the end of that there's two vertical lines because that's all of that information is part of the title. Next, there's a georeferenced JPEG that the map is going to display, and two vertical lines at the end of that. Next, there's a command to turn line drawing on, and it's going to specify the line color and line width. This will be a red line, 3 pixels wide. The line drawing is going to apply to the GPX track in that file right there. Then line drawing is turned off, and because line drawing is turned off, the last coordinate data here will appear as markers on the map. And because there is no map center and zoom parameter in the map link, the map will be centered and zoomed when it opens on any screen, such that the coordinate data that is in the map right there, and also the georeferencing information, so that coordinate data is on the user's screen when the map opens. Now keep in mind that this map link here is still a relatively short link. Once you start using the data parameter to add additional GIS base maps and GIS overlays, then the length of the data parameter can quickly become very large. And these long links become increasingly difficult to read in order to know exactly what information the map is displaying. Fortunately, there's an easy solution. You can put the value for the data parameter into a text file, put the text file online, and make a GISsurfer map link with the data parameter pointing to the text file. Now don't worry if you do not have your own server to host text files, because you can host text files and GPX files for free on Google Drive. A later video in this series will show you step by step how to do that. I made a text file that has the same information for the data parameter that we saw on the long map link. My screen is now showing the content of that text file. Lines that begin with 2 slashes like that are a comment line. When I make a text file, I like to include a comment line that has the link that will open the map and display the text file. So in this link, you see where I'm hosting the text file on my server, which is MappingSupport.com. The first line that actually does anything for the map puts the title on the map. Here's a comment line that reminds myself that I'm going to display a georeferenced image on the map, and here's the actual command to put the georeferenced JPG on the map. I'm reminding myself that I'm going to change the line style, and here's the command to do that. The GPX file has the address where the GPX file is hosted, and then we're turning line drawing off and displaying a couple of markers on the map. So I can go back up here and I can copy this link where the data parameter points to the text file, copy that link, copy, go to my browser, put it into a tab, and open up the map like that. We see the georeferenced image, changing the base map to an aerial view, or changing the base map to the all white. We see our georeferenced image. We see the map title. We see the track from the GPX file. We see a couple markers on the map. Go back there. Or I could go to my editor and go back to the tab that has the long link. I could copy this long link here, copy, back to the browser, open up another tab, paste that in there, and the exact same map would open up. So you can build your data parameter either right in the map link itself, or in a text file, or some combination of the two. For example, I could go back to my editor and look at the link that uses the text file right here. I could add 2 vertical lines to the end of that link. I could add some kind of command for the data parameter there, a couple vertical lines. I could have another command to the data parameter and keep going like that. Notice in the text file, which is what we're looking at right now, at the end of each line you do not need to have the 2 vertical lines that are required when you include the information for the data parameter right in the map link itself. In addition to shorter map links, putting the content for the data parameter in a text file has a second huge advantage. You can make various changes to the content of the text file without changing the map link. Do you want to change the location of the markers? Do you want to add a second GPX file? Want to add another GIS overlay layer? These are examples of the kinds of changes you can make to the content of the text file without needing to change the GISsurfer map link itself. If by now you're thinking that one of the keys for success with GISsurfer is using text files with a data parameter, then you would be right. And remember, Google Drive will host both your text files and your GPX files for free, and I will show you how. This is the end of the video showing you the most common parameters that you can use in a GISsurfer map link. Remember though, as I mentioned earlier, there's a later video in this series that shows how to use the data parameter to display additional base maps and overlays that are hosted on GIS servers. Next in this video series is number 5, which will show you the table of contents for an ArcGIS server, which is simply a series of web pages that you can look at in your browser. That information will be quite helpful when you want to use GISsurfer to surf data that is hosted on an ArcGIS server. No prior GIS knowledge is needed. In addition to this video, there's also a PDF file with additional details about link parameters that is not included in this video. To find that PDF, as well as others, visit the GISsurfer homepage, georeferenced.com, click the menu button, and go to the Help page. You can always find my contact information and links to my various projects by visiting the MappingSupport project page, mappingsupport.com. Thanks for watching. I hope you find GISsurfer to be useful.